This is really something special.
We wasted the good surprise on you.
Alright.
A movie that resonates with me to such a degree that it's etched upon all that I love within the genre. It feels like a twisted take on a certain Marvel hero
That's America's ass.
who loves to show off his patriotism and love for his country through blood, bullets, and even a bar brawl. All he was missing was a vibranium shield. This film involves a charismatic, stone-cold, stoic, and reserved antagonist that you sometimes cheer for, even if he has a bloodlust towards innocent bystanders.
Yes! That's awesome!
I would like to defend myself by saying it's not just a cult classic, but a bona fide badass flick that displays multiple elements of thriller, comedy, action, and horror. It gels together so damn good that you can't believe it's not butter. Today we're discussing Adam Wingard's 2014 stranger danger film, The Guest, and it may be one of the best horror— no wait, scratch that. You know what? This is one of the best horror movies you never saw. Director Adam Wingard has been making horror films for quite some time. Most notably, another favorite of mine, the 2011 horror invasion slasher, You're Next. Mr. Wingard has a clear, intuitive vision in his films. Not only does he have a great pedigree and knowledge when it comes to action, but his characters are also witty and smart. They shatter the stereotypes we are so accustomed to within the horror genre. When I finished watching You're Next, I was only more excited for what he had up his sleeve. And while he directed some segments in various anthology films like VHS 1 and 2 and the ABCs of Death, his next feature film wouldn't be until 2014. Teaming up with his VHS and You're Next scribe, Simon Barrett, they set to make a thriller movie about a guest from hell. It's been said that Simon Barrett originally had an alternate premise to The Guest, which he stalled on and later banished to the Shadow Realm.
Go back to the shadow.
However, when Adam Wingard pitched his very difficult take to Barrett, Simon took their ideas and melded them together. The screenplay was completed just 8 weeks later, and shooting commenced in the summer of 2013. The film had a budget of just $5 million as cameras got rolling in New Mexico. The Guest centers on the Peterson family, Anna, Luke, Laura, and Spencer, as they're visited by a soldier by the name of David. David was the quote-unquote best friend of their oldest son, Caleb, who was killed in action and served on the battlefield together. The Peterson family welcomes David to stay, while they get their priorities and grievances in order. Sounds like a lovely and courteous affair by the Petersons. Oh, if they only had realized they were in a horror movie. David involves himself in the personal lives of the Petersons as they take a liking to him. However, when strange occurrences, along with a detective snooping around and suddenly David not looking so great, Luke and Anna will come to realize that the man they're sheltering has ulterior motives that may just be detrimental to their home life and their lives in general. Alright, spoilers start here for anybody who hasn't seen the movie and wants to go in completely cold. Because David harbors some unexpected government secrets that could put the Peterson family in the crosshairs of not just David, but other bad guys as well, war is hell, a despicable thing. When a human being is sent into that travesty and the horrors they see are unfolded, it takes a toll and they're forever changed. If they're lucky enough to return home, it's rare that they return the same person. They come back as something different. David came back as a monster in disguise. And I know that this is a horror movie, but damn it if this movie doesn't have some incredible action. There are multiple scenes that display fast-paced and brutal fist ballet that puts right up there with action flicks like John Wick, The Matrix, or even Face Off. And where those movies go hard with the CGI, we're treated to a ton of practical effects for this movie. Who needs CGI when real movie magic is full-on practical here?
Never mind.
There is enough here to give Christopher Nolan a magical little tingle in his pantalones after watching this. It's just that good. The Guest wouldn't be as amazing as it was if it weren't for the lead of David, played by Dan Stevens. Director Adam Wingard always wanted Dan for the role, but told him he needed to bulk up and be in peak physical shape prior to production. This wasn't exactly a shock, as Stevens was emaciated and looked like Christian Bale's role in The Machinist. So Dan spent 2 times a day working out and packed on a whopping 25 pounds of muscle and 6-pack abs. Believe it or not, they waited to shoot the infamous shirtless scene where David is in the Peterson house so that he was able to get as much muscle on him as possible. They wanted to be able to use that specific shot in the trailers. See, they wanted to sexually objectify David and fetishize him so that people would be into this character who was essentially bad and cunning in nature. David is a cold, calculated, and ruthless antagonist, but he never shows it at the start. He's cool, reserved, and displays alpha wolf components, only to strike like a scorpion at a moment's notice. If you notice in the film, he rarely blinks at all. This would leave the impression that there is something seriously wrong with David, but no one would catch on while watching the film. But you really can't help but wonder if David is just a good guy under the control of a failed experiment, or if he's just truly sinister as well. Maybe it's a mix of both, which makes him the perfect specimen under the super soldier program. The guy can handle all types of firearms, does excessively well in hand-to-hand combat, and sure knows how to carry a beer keg. There are also great standouts from the supporting cast in this film, most notably Micah Monroe, who plays Anna. Monroe has gone on to star in some other great films like the other cult classic It Follows, as well as the upcoming Longlegs. There's also the late great Lance Reddick of John Wick fame, who plays Major Carver. Carver is the head of the KPG in this and just as badass as David. Both display militaristic integrity and are always a few steps ahead of the curve, although David runs through him like a knife through butter. You also have the father, Spencer Peterson, played by Leland Orser, who has seen his fair share of horror films like Alien Resurrection and Seven.
Oh God, he had a gun in my mouth! The fucking gun was in my throat!
May I also add that he has one of the fucking gnarliest alien deaths in the entire franchise. And lastly, Mr. Papa Giorgio, Russ Griswold himself, Ethan Embry, as a gun dealer who gets into a situation that he should have avoided right from the jump. Your luck has just run out, my friend.
Come on, baby.
Come on. 7 anyway. 7 winner.
Since I put The Guest on such a high pedestal, or the Mount Rushmore of best unseen horror films, I should probably get into why.
Why exactly? Why? Be more constructive with your feedback.
There always comes a point in time where you pop in a movie on a day that you're at home just to kill some time and not meet any lofty expectations. And once the credits roll, you have to pick your jaw up off the floor. This movie does just that.
Your parents' knives suck. Yeah.
Big claims, I know, but hear me out. Let's start off with one of the big moments of the film, the bar fight bully beatdown. A scene that elevates and hits a fever pitch until breaking into a disastrous, bone-crunching melody that you just need to root for the bad guy. Because David is a bad guy.
And I say, Zangief, you are bad guy, but this does not mean you're bad guy.
However, in this scene, he's more of a wicked guardian angel who would have fit nicely into that infamous church scene from Kingsman. It starts when David takes the younger son, Luke, out for a drink. but its true purpose is to get back at the jock bullies that hurt Luke. It's a scene that stays calm until the switch flips and all-out chaos erupts, hitting revenge-fueled epic proportions. Not only is the fight choreography great, but the lead-up is incredible. There's David buying the jocks some feminine cocktails to rile them up, and it all ends with David scaring the bartender into letting him and Luke go, which was a total chef's kiss.
For the damages.
Although, I'll be honest, cosmopolitans on the rocks aren't bad on a tropical island, so maybe give it a try. Let's not forget the scene capper with David rolling a few grenades into the diner to eliminate those who know about him. It all leads up to an amazing shootout when David realizes the KPG is after him. They're a government organization that specializes in creating super soldiers. This leads to an all-out war-at-home scenario between David, the family members, and Major Carver and the KPG agents trying to eliminate the threat of David from going haywire. It gives John Wick a real run for its money. And then we have the epic showdown at the Halloween high school dance between David, Carver, Luke, and Anna. It's hard not to appreciate a slasher thriller hybrid that takes place inside a school that involves foggy dance floors and neon lights and even funhouse style mazes. It is all such a delight to see David do some dirty work while his David's Playlist CD is on the speakers that Anna gave him prior. It's great. But the Guest unfortunately made only $2.7 million at the box office. Giving that $5 million budget, that meant it didn't even break even. It's truly a shame, considering how amazing this film really is. It has a critical reception of 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Remarkable numbers for a movie that has literally crept under most people's radar. A total disservice to the film itself, by the way. The Guest is a movie that belongs on your DVD shelf, no questions asked. For such a simple title, it goes to great lengths to encapsulate the shitstorm about to hit the Petersons' doorstep, courtesy of their special guest. Looks can be deceiving, and they serve as a reminder to try not to give in to temptation or friendship just based on appearances. The Guest should have spawned a sequel, as its ending is a love letter to splatter flicks of the 70s and 80s. Hell, I'd say the ending is so great that even Eli Roth's Thanksgiving had to copy it for its own. Of course, that's a subjective opinion, since the ending has been done before. I'm looking at you, Halloween Resurrection. For fuck's sake. But hey, the comparison is there. Now, go check out The Guest, as it's highly deserving of this title, potentially crowning itself as the head honcho of the most overlooked horror film to date. I mean, hell, I'd even say that Synth's score is just as good as Blade Runner 2049. Bold claim, but I dare say you will not be disappointed, fellas.
Do I look like I'd like to buy something for their felons?